So I got an email a little while ago from someone asking me when I first started making podcasts. And it got me thinking back on something I don't talk about too often, which was the summer when I was 18 years old. And I was hanging out with my best friend Tony. Now, all of you here, Jules, Jason, and John, you've known me my whole life. And I know I've never mentioned Tony before, ever. But I do want to know he was my best friend, ever. We were like brothers. We were inseparable. And I was hanging out. This is like the last week of summer before we're all going to go off to college. And I met up with Tony and his girlfriend, Janet. They were under the bleachers at Hartford High. And I went there, and they were doing something, and I didn't know what it was. I said, what are you guys up to? And they said, we're making podcasts. Let's make podcasts. And I'd never done that before. But I started, and I did a podcast, and it felt good. And I did another one, and we kept doing these podcasts all day. It was the best experience of my whole life. I mean, we're talking hours, and we were just anything that Spotify could take, anything that could go on Apple Podcasts, we would do, and it was podcast after podcast till I couldn't see straight. And I know that because we were driving home, and we kept making podcasts while we were driving home. And I didn't even know when we crashed into that lamppost. And Tony died making a podcast still while he was dying. And I miss him. Tony!
I know you're broken up about that, but you left out the part where Adam Curry stole the entire idea from you guys.
Thank you.
I remember that happening.
This is my monologue right here. Everyone here, what was I riffing on right there?
I have no idea. You were riffing on something? That didn't really happen? I don't know.
Jules, what was I going on about there?
Is that the Family Ties episode or no?
Yes, everyone.
Okay.
That is the greatest of all very special episodes ever. My Name is Alex, the one-man show on Family Ties, the gold standard of very special episodes. And I've been planning to do that monologue for weeks now for this, our very special episode. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the very special episode of A Dangerous Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Alley Seals. I'm here with my fearless co-host compatriots. We got John, we got Jason, we got Jules. How are you, brothers?
Good. Do you remember that episode where Tom Hanks was the alcoholic uncle? That was hysterical.
Oh, God, that's a great episode.
That was a great episode. And he's like,
no, but now I want to see it.
It's a really good episode.
Right when Alex knew he had a drinking problem is when they ran out of like beer, and so he starts drinking like vanilla extract.
Wait! Alex had a drinking problem?
No. Tom Hanks.
We know he had a speed problem. We know he had a speed problem.
Yeah, no. Uncle Tom Hanks.
Uncle Tom Hanks. Yeah, yep. Okay. Now that's my favorite thing. One of my favorite things about Family Ties is everybody knows like the opening. In the opening, when like Alex is in a rolly chair and he goes like that, and people forget that's the very special episode where Alex is on drugs.
He was on drugs for one episode, never touched them before or since.
No, that was a one-time 30-minute affair.
The whole addiction cycle just played itself out in one episode, as they did back in the 80s sitcoms.
Yeah, but
they did that. They did that on Cosby Show. Theo had a joint once.
Yeah. Never again. But let's note this: when Family Ties ended, it ended with Alex going off to Manhattan, going off to Wall Street to be a broker. So he was about to do a fuck ton of cocaine. He was going to do so.
We already know he likes speed. He likes uppers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He had a predisposition for it right there.
Yeah.
And that bled into Bright Lights Big City, which is the next movie we will be reviewing.
He's living in a tent on Skid Row right now.
Yeah. So anyway, here we are. We have been on hiatus for the last few months, and we are kicking off season 2. I'm using television terms. We got season 2, Dangerous Podcast. It starts today. And I thought to kick off this season, let's not look forward. Let's look to the past. A Dangerous Podcast is.
Let's reflect.
Yeah, let's reflect. We've been going on for damn near over a calendar year at this point, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
That's a long season.
Yeah, it's
been like a year. Can I jump right to my favorite moment of a Dangerous Podcast? Because it's pretty recent.
Okay.
My favorite moment with the Dangerous Podcast for this year, or however long it is the comments we're getting on YouTube for the Garbage Pail Kids episode.
Yeah, we're getting some traction there.
It's hysterical. For whatever reason, everybody thinks it's showing the full movie, or we're tricking them into it, and we kind of are. But the comments are, "This is not the full movie,"
and I feel their pain.
Like that.
I feel their pain because half of the movies that we review, I try to watch for free on YouTube. And I always end up with another lame podcast of guys talking about a weird ass movie from the 80s.
Right.
Like, I don't want to listen to them. I'm going to do my
really
own
disappointed
lame
someone who was
podcast
looking
about
for Garbage Pail Kids. It must have been very difficult for them.
But this is such a horrible idea to want to watch it. That's why.
Right. There's no reason. You're an idiot if you want to watch it.
I'm the one that's going in there and making the angry comments on our account, telling them that we're doing them a favor and they shouldn't see it. I mean, seriously, I millions of times I've been looking for something on YouTube and haven't found it. Do I comment there to be
you spend any time commenting? No, that's.
I thought this was the movie because and why would I think? It's you. What do you do? It's not just that you're even trying to watch the movie, and it's not even that you're mad that it happened. It's that you then take the time to comment about how horrible this is.
But that just tells you how mad they are. If they're taking the time to leave it, they're like, motherfucker! God damn it!
Someone really wanted to see Garbage Pail Kids and then saw our 4 faces instead.
Yeah, and they were disappointed. I got to note something here, especially about the Garbage Pail Kids movie, is that I am the laziest member of a Dangerous Podcast, which is a really dangerous thing because it's my job to recap the movies. But I'm very lazy in finding free movies. Like you guys all go to Hurt Locker or whatever it is that you go to. you find that stuff. I find myself just renting these pieces of shit on Amazon Prime all the time.
Go back into your debit card and see how much money you spent on Dangerous Podcast movies.
It's
and
damn near
you get some charge
$40
back.
at this point.
Get a charge back.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is, even me, who am the worst at finding these things, I mean, I found Garbage Pail Kids pretty darn easy on YouTube.
I think it was on YouTube, right?
Yeah,
it was on YouTube.
It was not hard to find.
No. Fucking, what the hell's the matter with these people?
Yeah, come on.
What I don't appreciate is that I watch it on my TV, and so if we watch on YouTube, I have to make sure that I'm not logged into my account when I watch these movies, because otherwise YouTube will do nothing but shovel garbage at me constantly if I were to start, watching our films on YouTube. So I have to be sure that I'm logged into an alternate account. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's dangerous. A Dangerous Podcast can
It is.
really seep into your algorithm.
Well, speaking of, it's a long season, and that we did more than a year, which means we've done. Wait, how many episodes have we?
I have no idea, John. What are we at this point? Counting Cop Rock Nights?
We are at. You give me a minute. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. But I want to note that this actually isn't a very special episode. I mean,
it's not.
I built it, and then I did a ridiculous and utterly boring, like 3-minute monologue about that. But I don't really think this is a very special episode. I think this is a clip episode.
Yeah, this is.
That's more the DNA of this episode. This is really a clip show. We wanted to save money. I didn't want to spend the $3 on Jason's new movie that we were supposed to review 6 weeks ago, and so now we're doing a clip show. So John, in editing, please feel free to edit in as many clips as possible into here. And I'm going to start going back memory lane to our very first episode, the episode that kicked it all off with Dangerous Touch, which is where we get our name from. We may have thrown away every other premise of this show, where originally we were going to talk about Lou Diamond Phillips every episode. I still love that. I feel like we went off the rails when we stopped doing that, but I respect the group's decision. But we still have the name. It comes from Dangerous Touch. It's not even a Dangerous Touch. It's just Dangerous Touch. Which was a erotic thriller that was written by, directed by, produced, and starring Lou Diamond Phillips. And I think that first episode, the best part of that episode, and John, get ready to cue this up, was the moment that we found out that John hadn't watched the movie.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna take a pause here so John can edit that clip in.
All right, and
John, you're an asshole.
I wanted to see if I can get through the whole show without without watching, and I did. I was pretty proud of myself. This is our 32nd episode.
I just want to. You have to point out my skepticism that he had watched the movie, because
Jules, you called it from the beginning.
Jules, you called it right.
I don't know how. I'm not like some sort of like poker playing mind reader person. And it's like,
and you just called my bluffs. Well, I'm not playing poker with you, man. You can clearly see right through me.
Yeah. We have a comment here from Pito Royo who says, "Sad news, his internet is damaged due to the storm. Can't watch. He's on low data." I'm sorry, Pito, and thank you for showing up tonight. Thank you for showing up to this very special episode. You'll just have to listen to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your personal podcasts. I also want to send a shout out to Albert, who is watching tonight, who is really, let's be clear, an unofficial host of.
I'd say he's above us. Honestly, he gets us through he knows way more about what we're talking about than any of us do.
Alex is really. I kind of think of. Alex speaking. I keep thinking of Albert as really like the ghost in Family Circus.
Yeah.
But a ghost of Family Circus that talks a whole lot more. And, what does the ghost say in Family Circus, Jules?
What? Not me?
Not
me. It is not me.
You're talking about the comic Family Circus?
Yeah. There's always the ghost.
What the fuck kind of references are you doing?
What? You guys don't read Family Circus? But anyway, Albert, thank you.
My great grandfather read Family Circus.
The truth is, we used to record on Tuesday nights, but Jules and I have a damn movie to finish editing, and so we do that Tuesday nights, and we moved to Wednesdays. And we kind of lost a lot of our live viewing audience when we did that. Wednesday was the real prime podcast spot, as anybody knows. But Albert followed, and he follows every week, and thank you very much. Thanks for.
And thank God he did, because we learned so much about the movies we just watched. What would this show
be without Albert? It really wouldn't be much. So, thank you. Does anyone have any? We're starting there. That's my first memory of a Dangerous podcast. Is John just bluffing his way through the first episode, and it was really kind of a beautiful moment. But I'm gonna.
Can I speak a little bit more about? I mean, even before that. I want to talk about the moment where I just sent a text out to the three of you, and I said, "We need to do a podcast." And first one to reply was Jules, and he's like, "Ian would never do it."
I didn't think I had time. I don't actually have time.
No, and he wrote back, "Actually, I would."
No, actually, I had thought that some sort of. I had spoken to Ian about the notion of doing it for his comic book company. I thought that was, I was kind of like, have you thought about that? And he was like, podcast.
Yeah,
podcast,
because we had like at Rare Earth Comics, we had done a series of interviews during Comic-Con, during the virtual San Diego Comic-Con, which were mildly popular. A few people, like 3 people watched them. I call that. Albert just said, I love movies, and the ones you pick are fun. It's a pleasure, or I'm sorry. Yes, that's the correct statement to say.
Pleasure's ours.
So yeah, I mean, it took a little convincing, but I was in, eventually. And it was a while. Like, if it was difficult for us to record this very special episode, we had to postpone the first episode of Dangerous Podcast like 5 times or something like that. Mostly just for my complications. But we did it. We got it. And then we didn't stop until we did, until like the summer really kind of bashed into us. So I'm going to throw a few questions out to the group right now. And the first one is favorite movie. What's your favorite movie? It doesn't mean you need to have liked it. Look, your favorite movie that we did.
You mean as in we had an actual positive cinematic experience?
The movie itself, or the show that we did on?
Sorry. I'm going to be a little more.
So many different ways.
I do get a little. What's your favorite episode so far?
Maybe Roar.
Yeah,
Roar was a lot of fun.
That was pretty hysterical. That was pretty hysterical. It was a fun show, and it was a fun movie to watch. And there were so many facts on the movies. These guys almost died. It was crazy.
So for those of you listening at home who haven't been following A Dangerous Podcast all this time, Roar was if you could even call it a movie, like it was a kind of free-form comedy directed by Tippi Hedren's husband and Melanie Griffith's stepfather, where they all hung out in a bungalow filled with lions. I mean, literally filled to the brim with lions. That's the movie right there. That's the whole goddamn movie.
I remember my roommate walked in the living, like he'd just come home and walked in the living room when I was watching that, and he's like, "What is going on here?" I said, "This guy lives with lions." He's like, "Why?"
Right.
And that's really you can stop right there with Roar. It's the guy lives with lions. Why? Sharon just made a comment, which is Roar, a horror movie with a laugh track. That is absolutely the best description one can give. It's
I
a
think
terrifying movie.
You start off laughing, but then eventually it's just going to
Stop laughing. Really.
Stop.
I mean, the fact that I still am flabbergasted no one died during Roar.
They came close. Yeah. I mean, what is it? Melanie Griffin? I always screw up her name. Melanie Griffith. 14 years old, right?
Yeah, she's 14 years old.
And almost just what happened to her? I forgot. She
got mauled by a freaking lion.
Mauled by a lion, but it was in one of the scenes. I think she got a bunch of stitches or something. Right?
Yeah, wasn't she one of the actors who was hospitalized?
Yeah,
she was in the
kitchen. Yeah, I think there was
a thing when she was in the kitchen.
Yeah, she was in the kitchen, and the lion is on top of her, biting the back of her head. And in the movie, you see this in the movie.
Yeah.
Is pulling on the lion's tail because it's killing her daughter.
Right.
In reality.
While her stepfather's like, don't cut, shoot.
Don't cut.
Use that.
God, it's the most disgusting movie we ever watched. But I think what I agree with you guys, that.
It's almost watching a snuff film.
Yeah. A lion snuff film. My God. And so that was one of my favorite times as well with you gentlemen making this podcast, because it was one of the few times where we all completely agreed on our feelings about this movie.
Right.
There was no holdout that was like, no, I thought it was kind of fun.
We're all split on Neil Breen, but we all came together on Roar.
John, we're not split on Neil Breen.
No, we are.
You're the one. I think that's a good segue. let's talk about our most contentious podcasts. All right, and let's start with Neil Breen. Okay, we're going to start with Neil Breen. I think in many ways Neil Breen he's the ongoing big bad of this series. Like he's the villain of this whole series. Like,
he's the boss level.
Like we had tried these weird little dynamics of like you and John, like you and me going at it and like having this tension, or like there's a feud between John and Jules. There's Jason that never has a feud with anybody.
Jason's just there stoned.
Yeah. But
looking at the camera.
But what really started hurting all of us on a soul level, I would even say more than Kirk Cameron, and we'll get to Kirk Cameron in a minute, but was Neil Breen. And so, John, can you describe Neil Breen and what you brought to the table for those who have not watched either Twisted Pair or what the fuck?
Sure.
What's the other one? Twisted
Pair and
Fateful Findings.
Fateful Findings. Yeah.
What is Neil Breen, and what
I can sum him up very easily. Neil Breen is the Jimi Hendrix of bad movies. He's indescribable. I don't even know how to think. He reaches new levels that other filmmakers who make bad movies can't even approach. The thing is, they're all kind of the same movie. It's just, he's the greatest thing ever. Everybody loves him.
We're talking about his character in every movie he plays. Yeah.
In every movie, right? And just a lot of weird things happen. It's like, that's basically the premise. But then, there's just like all these people, and it's like, he lives alone, but then you'll see him like eating, with a family, and you don't know who these people are. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy.
It's like Neil Breen. All of his characters are super spy, hacker, superhero aliens, like
with like magical powers.
Yeah, they all have magical powers. And women
women love, and that's the best part for me, is because it's just so disturbing watching. The thing is, you read about him, he uses real actors. These are paid actors who, they're working. I don't know if they're working well, but they're actors. They're not like his friends. You would be surprised because it seems so amateurish, but he actually gets actors. And that's the funny thing for me, is because like, there's always like, the love interest with Neil Breen, and the woman is being a really good actress, but you could see right in her eyes, only her eyes, she just doesn't fucking want to be there, and she wishes she was anywhere else. But she's a professional, and she's an actor, and she's gonna, do it. And like, he's just like slowly, it's just fucking.
And well, that's kind of that also leads to kind of a ongoing, not a theme, but a common trait among all of the films we watch. For the most part, all of the actors in it are way out of the league of the movie that they're in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in certain ways it's kind of obvious. Like, when we watched Super Mario Brothers, the movie, like you got Bob Hoskins in this, and John Leguizamo. And
Fiona Shaw was in that. That's what I'm.
Yeah, Fiona Shaw was in that movie.
Okay.
You've got these people in this movie that they're so out of its league. But Neil Breen films are on a very small scale that exact same trend. Like, these films are filled with actual actors that have skills in the worst condition they could possibly be in, like in the worst movie that they will ever be in. And it's kind of hard to watch. I mean,
Albert just referred to Neil Breen as Neil Green because of autocorrect. And I have to say that I think we have a new character for our cinematic universe. It's probably Neil Green. I think we can probably get that, but we have to look for that the right person to play Neil Green, I think.
Yeah. Like, oh man, guys. While I'm thinking about this now, I'm looking at myself in this like Zoom window, and I'm just expecting Neil Breen to slowly walk out behind me. Just nonchalant and just kind of look over.
But
like,
I mean,
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, there's green screen effects in your window there.
Yeah, and then my house is gonna blow up, because
I got
vision or something like that.
I gotta say there was one scene that just stood out for me that was different than the other movies. It was just, remember the action scene where he's like jumping into a building and he's like having the soldier and then he hits pause. There's a bunch of soldiers in the building, and then like in the background he pauses it, and they're just like in mid motion, and he's like, "Follow me. They can't hurt me." That was hysterical.
The disturbing image that keeps coming into my head that I can't undo and unsee is the black garbage bag background naked hugging.
Oh God, yeah. Like, I gotta give him credit. Like, as we've said, Neil Breen will always be compared to his superior, who is Tommy Wiseau, like, of The Room. He will always be compared to him. And I at least will give Neil Breen, he didn't force sex scenes upon his leading ladies. Like, he didn't get fully nude with them and make them roll around for 6 hours. Tommy Wiseau did
But
that.
I don't know if that's worse. And maybe that's debatable, but it was simulated sex. He wasn't really having sex with these women, where he is very much in their mouth when he's like kissing them. I don't know what's worse. I mean, it's cancer or polio.
Man. Yeah.
Neither's a great option, but
that's going to lead me to my next question. So you brought up the Neil Breen action sequences. We've watched a lot of action movies here. I'd like to do a list of our favorite action sequences, our favorite action moments in these films.
Okay, Steven Seagal blowing up oil wells.
Well, which one? Like, that's the whole movie there, Jason. And of course, we're referring to our first and only Steven Seagal movie, which was one I chose, was Deadly Ground, On Deadly Ground. I forget the actual name. I think I titled the movie 7 times in the actual episode that we did. But yeah, Deadly Ground. It's either Deadly Ground or On Deadly Ground. And the entire movie is him blowing up oil wells. Is there a specific oil well blow up sequence that you're referring to, Jason?
Yeah, the one where he's walking away in slow motion.
That's all of them, Jason.
That's most of the movie.
No, like, let's talk about that. Was the action the saving grace in that movie? Or did you just think the action was lame? In On Dangerous Ground, what did we think about that?
It's just amusing when he was in the bar and just has to get into a fight with everyone in the bar.
Oh, man. And he's fighting the guy, Big Mike. I forget the actor's name. That guy's a good actor, too. And
then he has to play slap hands with him.
Yeah, he's like, let's play slap hands. Oh, too slow. Too slow. Boom. He convinces this guy that they're going to play slap hands, and the loser will get decked in the face. And the guy honors it. But the best part of that scene was he kicks the shit out of this bar bully, and then changes his life. And like, he beats him up. He's on the ground. He says, like, it's something like, "What can change a man? What can change his soul?" And the guy, Big Mike, starts crying. And he goes, "I don't know. I don't know." And then Seagal goes, "Neither do I. But I'm trying." And he walks away. Like, the power of Steven Seagal's ass kicking changed this man's soul. Yeah, that's a good one, Jason.
That'll do it.
Thank you. Anybody else? Give me another action sequence that we've watched.
I should have studied up or something because, like, literally, like, I was the odd one out watching the movie the day of the podcast, but that was mostly so I didn't have to like remember it and think about it for a long period of time. And it did work, and I'm like, I don't know. Have we done 52 movies? I have no idea what the hell is going on here.
Okay. Albert just said on Deadly Ground, where Seagal was not Neil Breen that he chose the not entirely racist caricature of an old Native American wise woman instead of the random hot naked music video one. Yeah. Oh God.
Remember that? That was hysterical.
Yeah. When he's on his vision quest, and in his vision quest, there's the
they're trying to tempt him like he's Jesus out in the desert.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, hot naked woman.
Old woman, and he chooses the old woman. Yeah. That's yeah.
Neil Breen can't quite figure that. Well, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I guess that's analogous. That's analogous to Neil Breen and the random teenager at his house.
Yeah. Okay. I've got two action sequences that I'm going to talk about right now. And
before you do, just real quick, if I can, I highly recommend Tom Segura's stand-up act where he does an 8-minute long segment about what a douchebag Steven Seagal is.
There's great material out on YouTube about people telling stories about what a douche Steven Seagal is. It's fantastic. Did you ever see that? That skit on Saturday Night Live? Lorne Michaels says Steven Seagal was the worst host ever, just because of what a jerk he was to the crew, the staff and the crew. But there was an episode with Andrew Dice Clay. He was doing I think this is right when Sinead O'Connor was on, or she refused to come on because Andrew Dice Clay was on. And then they were doing a skit of It's a Wonderful Life, and Andrew Dice Clay is at the bridge, and he's like, what am I living for? That bald chick hates me. Yeah. And then Lorne Michaels comes out, and he's like, don't jump, Andrew Dice Clay. And he's like, you must think I'm the worst host ever. Lorne Michaels goes, no, that'd be Steven Seagal. It was just a week after he hosted.
Wow. Hey, weren't we supposed to
I remember that.
Weren't we supposed to watch an Andrew Dice Clay movie?
Yes.
Yes, that's what
that's
Jules'
the next
movie.
one.
No, Jason's movie was.
Yeah, wasn't that what we were supposed to be reviewing?
So the next week, that's what we're gonna watch. We're gonna watch
Mind Smashers.
Brain Smashers, a love story.
Brain Smashers. That's right. Okay. That's coming up though. Our mind is in the past right now. We got a foot in the past right now. So I want to talk about two action sequences. One, the worst action sequence that we've witnessed, and then I want to talk about what I think is the best. So the worst, I'm going to bring this to one of the movies that absolutely nearly killed John Carrier, which was Dead Weekend. And
Dead Weekend to me is what Neil Breen is to all of you.
Really. Whereas Neil Breen makes me fondly remember Dead Weekend. Like Dead Weekend was a fine romp. And
I like Neil Breen the way you guys like Fast and the Furious movies.
I don't love the
ironically.
But so in this scene, you've got the alien who morphs from hot chick to hot chick for reasons that are never fully explained, yet they are explained ad nauseum. They spent like 30 minutes of this movie explaining exactly what this alien's deal is, and I still can't figure it out. She's from a planet where if they have sex, they change shape. But that's only happening to her because she has a virus. And in 1,000 years, her virus is going to save humanity. Am I on the right track here?
No, it's about that convoluted.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then if she just fucks Stephen Baldwin enough, it will cure her space virus.
And so he's just going to have to take one for the team.
Get all these details.
Yeah. Oh! I remember my favorite bit of that movie. Oh, I'm sorry. I know I'm supposed to talk about the action sequence. I set up this whole format, but my favorite bit of Dead Weekend was like they're waiting by like the Hollywood sign. No, it's not the Hollywood sign. That's from Amanda and the Alien. They're waiting in the park for the alien spaceship to come down and take the alien chick. And Stephen Baldwin's like, I will come with you. And she's like, no, we're not doing that. You don't understand. My parents are very prejudiced. They would not let me bring a human. He's like, I don't care about your parents or anything. I just want you. And she's like, no, this has been fun, but you're staying on Earth. And Stephen Baldwin's like, oh. That was my favorite moment in that movie.
The entire reason that I subjected us to Dead Weekend was because it was the same producer of a very short-lived production company that also did Amanda and the Alien. And as best I could tell, it would all involve shape-shifting aliens having sex with people.
And if that company had stayed in business, that's what every movie would be.
Yeah. We were earlier before the show complaining about Wes Anderson doing the same thing over and over again. This is
Wes Anderson. What? I didn't catch that.
Doing the same movie over and over again.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that he was doing the same movie and over again. And I'm just saying that there are others who also try to do that.
Yeah.
And
Albert just
far lesser extent.
Yeah, Albert just gave a new title to Dead Weekend, which is "Weed and Pain: A Love Story." And that's brilliant.
But it reminds me, I should really get off my ass and try to get the writer of Dead Weekend on the show.
Yes.
He does want to talk about it because
yes, please.
Because it was a very weird situation.
I would love that. I'd like the writer of Dead Weekend.
It was the director because his roommate was completely coked up and laughing for a few weeks and writing the script.
Yeah, that's right. I remember reading that.
So I think that's an interesting story, and I'll reach out to them.
But the action sequence. So the action sequence is there's a big shootout at the end of the movie. Weed and Pain, the two like world force police cops, are fighting their brethren in order to cover so the alien can get away, and everybody's getting shot. And then my favorite character from that movie, who was the really happy Latino like soldier who wears nothing but like a bandolier of grenades, just kind of jumps out, puts a knife to Stephen Baldwin's throat, and is like, "Hey, remember me?" or something like that. It's the weirdest shit. It's just the weirdest.
I like how the military had their own strip club that didn't actually have any strippers.
Yeah. There was no stripping happen in that movie, and there's no reason why. I mean, they had nudity in that movie. The alien was getting,
but not the strippers. That would have made sense.
They couldn't afford it. More nudity. They had to, because you have to pay extra. That's what I heard. Right?
Yeah. So, Albert brings another point. We should really get Russell Mulcahy on to find out what the hoverboard flying fuck he was thinking with Highlander 2. So many questions. Yeah. Because Highlander 2. I mean, that was our last episode before the break, right? Like
I think so.
All the history of Highlander 2 was how like the movie got taken away from Russell Mulcahy and like the producers completely changed it. But I still don't know that diamond that was in that rough. Like I look at what is on that screen and I can't figure how you work that into an actual good movie. So I'm willing to say that the production company completely stole it and ripped it apart and made it crazy and made it terrible. I'm willing to say that, but I still doubt that there was a good movie under there. So Russell, please come and defend yourself. We're here to listen. But I actually want to talk about a good action sequence that has been here, because we've had some movies with some really good action. And
what?
Cherry 2000. Okay, Cherry 2000. You've got that Mustang hanging from a wire, swinging down Glen Canyon Dam while they're machine gunning dudes on the side. That was a great action sequence.
There is a cool explosion or two in Cherry 2000, right?
Yeah.
I would argue the entire film of Roar was a good action film, and it was real. It's really getting attacked by lions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Except no, Roar isn't that's a horror movie. It is a straight.
No, it's not. Well, they think it's a. They thought it was a comedy. They marketed it as a comedy. It said what?
Yeah, as Albert said earlier in a comment. What did he say? Can't spell hilarity without slaughter, or something.
Can't spell laughter. Definitely spell hilarity without slaughter. Can't spell laughter without slaughter.
Yeah, it keeps coming back to Roar. No, I thought that was a good action sequence. There were, remember the movies that we've been watching. There are generally some decent elements to it. Like Cherry 2000 had like the best locations.
I can tell you what had the least action.
What's that?
Even probably worse than Saving Christmas was Super Mario Brothers. Remember, like he just I think I pointed out, it's like, what do you do when you're playing Super Mario Brothers? You're jumping all the time. And then Super Mario in the movie had to jump one time.
Yeah.
He missed, didn't he?
You don't think the absolute least action was in...
Oh, yeah. There you go, Jason. Okay.
Yeah, probably.
This is one of those things where I question... Like, I question film critics and I question the past because gets good reviews. Like, you read some of the old reviews of that time, and there were people who called it a masterpiece, and it was the most boring piece of shit I've ever seen.
It was so slow and draggy and way too long. That's why I made you guys watch it.
Yeah, no, I think it's critic syndrome, and what it boils down to is when you literally have to see like every movie, your standards of what is interesting to you change in a fundamental way that make you an alien to everybody who watches movies normally, because essentially you're just like, I have to watch every movie that comes out, and then something like comes out and you're like, well, geez, at least it wasn't the same crap that, you know what I mean? You're just like,
yeah.
I wonder if that's why Mulholland Drive got such great reviews, and it's like one of the most favorite movies in all of Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, it's also because Mulholland Drive's a really good movie.
Do you not like David Lynch? We should do a David Lynch segue.
Oh,
to the big reveal tonight.
I could dig it.
Okay, so what? Sorry, I totally lost it right there. Yeah, we are going to be reviewing the first major motion picture that's out in theaters, and that is going to be Denis Villeneuve's Dune. We got Dune coming up, everybody. We got Dune coming up.
And we're going to do it the night of, correct?
We're going to do it the night of, right after we watch it.
That's
we're going to go somewhere and do this.
There's going to be no reviews on the internet. There's going to be no video to watch.
We're going to ruin it all.
You're going to, yep.
It
come
is
straight to us.
Spoiler-tastic. Guess what? Paul, Timothy Chalamet, he rides a worm.
Yep.
He's going to get on.
And you know what? I'm gonna make sure I put that episode that night up on YouTube. You think those guys were mad about Garbage Pail Kids? Wait till they think they're about to watch the new Dune.
Yeah.
Although that means we're gonna have to like talk for like 3 hours or something, I think, to make it plausible when they see it in the.
No, we'll just have like dead air at the.
It is a dangerous podcast after all. Like, listen at your own risk. I think I really do though want us to go into this movie with an open mind, because Jules, I think you've already got a bias to not like it.
I am highly biased to not like it. I admit.
I'm in his boat too.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be really, really good.
I think you're kind of the opposite. I think you have it in your head that you're going to like it, and I think you're going to like it no matter what. I don't think they're going to do much of anything to ruin it.
Oh, no, John. And this is where you and I, you create this caricature of me that, like, I'm this Pollyanna who just loves all movies. I hate most movies, John. I really, really do. And
I believe that, but you find good in every movie.
Do you dislike Denis Villeneuve as a director?
Yes,
Why?
because I don't know who he is. I have no idea. What is he?
It's a dangerous touch
I hate
all over again.
I hate his name. Sounds stupid. What has he done? I really don't know. What has he done?
The Arrival.
I've never even heard of it.
Let's see, The Arrival. Blade Runner
49.
2049.
I started watching it. I shut it off.
Fucking asshole, man. He's a brilliant director. He's a brilliant director.
It was, retro.
No. My bias is that Denis Villeneuve is.
He's not going to be weird enough.
No. There's not just that, but I would say that he is a good director. He is not as great as everybody says he is.
Oh, I disagree.
I think he's making this movie for a wide audience, and that's what's going to kill it. I think they're going to try to franchise it. I think they've already are looking at Dune 2 and Dune 3 and Dune 4 and all this shit.
Well, of course, there's
as Hollywood does, right? But so I don't think they're just trying to make Dune. They're trying to make just like they did with the latest Road Warrior. Is they're trying to make a
Okay. Wait
franchise.
a second. For if you're going to start bringing in George Miller here, and you're going to start talking about Fury Road, like nobody was asking for Fury Road. Like there was no studio that was breaking him down to make that movie. That was a passion project that he was working on for 30 years. Like, do you guys know the story of how Mad Max came about? You guys know this backstory? All right, I'm going to tell the story. So George Miller was in a motorcycle accident. He's an Australian film director. He was in a motorcycle accident, and he's in the hospital, and he's talking to his doctor, who just sees just the worst auto accidents ever, and like what it does to people, and like the way it rips people's bodies apart, and just the horror of automobile accidents. And they were talking about it, and they're like, and suddenly they just started riffing on this, and came up with Mad Max, like this chase movie with that will show these grotesque accidents and creating this action movie. And so they together made Mad Max, and they made Road Warrior together. And then in the middle of making Thunderdome, the doctor died of cancer. And George Miller was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like, I created this world with my friend, and I don't see how I can make any of this anymore. And he left. He went and did Babe Big in the City. Or he did, I forget which Babe movie he did, the good one. No, George Miller does a lot of really, really interesting stuff. But then he was working on Fury Road forever, just in the back of his head, rewriting the script, rewriting everything. Like, I'm telling you, John, Fury Road, while amazingly successful, because it is debatably the greatest action movie ever made. I mean, there are plenty of critics who would debate that. It is not a cash grab by any stretch of the imagination. Studios wanted George Miller to jump on the next Mad Max immediately, and he refused, partly because there was a dispute over money, but he wasn't going to jump on it. That's, I think, a case of a major Hollywood film that was not calculated in that way. It was not a pure just cash grab film. Sorry. So
maybe for him, but I mean, we can talk about it forever. But no, I know what you're saying. You know what I want to know is like what people thought of the original Dune, the David Lynch Dune.
Mixed, I think, is a David Lynch hated it. He himself hated it.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
It was just he wasn't the right director for Dune. He wasn't right. He did hate it.
I don't know. Jules and I might say he was the only director.
I have a lot of fondness for that movie because, I mean, that's why I was so fond of things like that we've seen on the show, like Rollerball and like Zardoz. I am a fan of science fiction being an occasion to do something weird. You know what I mean? So if you're going to get weird, I feel like science fiction movies are a great place to do that because that's kind of the premise, is something weird should be happening. So yes, like Ian was saying before, my fear of the new Dune movie is that it's not weird. It's literally 20,000 years in the future or something, and everybody's going to be using present day slang, and everything's going to look normal, and people are going to be relating in a normal way that you can understand, and that doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? I want some weirdness in my Dune movie, and Lynch delivered. So
I just hope that like you guys go in with an open mind and don't just aren't just hate watching.
No, I'm not gonna.
I totally will. I have something else to ask. Did anybody ever see the documentary Jordanowski's Dune?
I hate to say that I haven't.
You have to watch this.
I know I do.
It's a must. It's more important. You have to watch this. It is so good. I mean, do you know the premise? I think
sure I do.
Arthur P. Jacobs was going to make the movie, but he died in 1973, and it's such a great movie. They were talking about like what it could have been. Pink Floyd was going to be doing the soundtrack.
Yeah, Salvador Dali was going to do art direction.
Yeah. It's crazy. He was talking about all of this stuff, and he was explaining. He was like, he was meeting the guys from Pink Floyd, and they were eating like McDonald's or something. He walks in and he goes to him. He goes, "What are you doing? Eating these hamburgers? We could be making a great movie, and you're just playing with these hamburgers." It's so funny.
I'm gonna segue slightly to movies. It kind of goes back to the original statement. A movie that you watched for A Dangerous Podcast season 1 that you unexpectedly liked. All right, not sarcastically, not ironically. A movie that you enjoyed watching. I'm gonna leave that on the floor.
Okay. Wait, say that. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Sorry, I know it's a stretch, everybody, based on the entire point of this show. But a movie you ended up liking, surprisingly. While you're thinking about that, I'm going to read Albert's comment. It's also important to remember Mad Max, when first released in the U.S., had a horrible dub and didn't really track well here. That's why the Road Warrior here was distributed without the Mad Max 2 title. It was the first intro to Miller's World that a lot of people saw. Yeah, that's an important fact. Mad Max got a proper release stateside with Mel's actual recorded dialogue after he and the Road Warrior broke big. It's true. I've seen both. I've seen the original, the one that's released where they just had an overdub over Mel Gibson, and the one where they put his actual dialogue in. Can
I say one more thing about Jodorowsky?
Yes.
I'm on the Wikipedia page, and I forgot about this part. It's so good. Salvador Dali was set to play the Emperor and claimed he wanted to be the highest paid actor in Hollywood history. He asked for $100,000 per hour to act in the movie. Jodorowsky proposed to pay him $100,000 per minute, but then reduce the Emperor's scene so that Dali would be needed for no more than 3 to 5 minutes, with the rest of his lines spoken by a robotic lookalike. Dali consented in exchange for being allowed to keep the doll Emperor for his museum. I mean, the two of them working together must have been a trip.
Oh my God. But I'm not letting this go. A movie that you watched for this podcast that you unexpectedly liked.
I mean, other than like the two wacky sci-fi ones that I just mentioned, I can't think of.
So
unless you guys remember me being way more forgiving than I should have been, I don't remember much other than that.
Yeah. So Jules, you're saying Rollerball, and Zardoz.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm gonna have to say Zardoz.
Yeah. John?
Cherry 2000, I think. And Zardoz.
Yeah. I'm gonna go there too, John. We're gonna completely agree. Cherry
Okay.
2000 and
Well,
Zardoz. I'm gonna
Look
go
at
there.
us.
Like Cherry 2000, I don't think in the end it comes together correctly, but the individual scenes are fun. Like they're kind of well composed, interesting scenes. It's kind of refreshing as a post apocalyptic film. It does like it Jules in that kind of way where there's not a lot of exposition. It just kind of throws you
Yeah.
into the world and hopes that you keep up, which is what we always aspire to as our own science fiction filmmakers. Um, I respect that about Cherry 2000. I think Melanie Griffith. Oh, I mean, she was okay.
She did all right. No, she was okay. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. You could tell it. It was low budget. I think if they had a bigger budget, it would have been a much better movie. But I thought it was a good story. It was good. It was a good movie.
Yeah, like for
The
me,
premise
I
is
mean,
a little silly, but I wonder what would it look like if decent filmmakers made Cherry 2000 now.
They will. I know they will.
and it won't be as good. It won't be as good.
No, it'll be a total money grab. But they're remaking everything.
Yeah.
They were really talking about remaking Garbage Pail Kids because this.
What?
Yeah, because
But that was a brand that was
who wanted to do
popular in
it?
the
Was,
80s. They couldn't do
no
that
one
now.
wanted to
No
do
one
it. Was
knows
Michael
that is.
Eisner. Michael Eisner wanted to do it because Disney bought the Topps company.
I remember that.
And owned them, and because of that, this was like in 2007.
Oh my God.
He was proposing this shit.
Oh my God. Albert has answered the question as well. He said, not counting something like Masters of the Universe or Cherry 2000, or classics like Rollerball or Zardoz, which he said I enjoyed before this, that he actually thought Brain Smasher was fun. This is a spoiler right here because
Albert, he comes prepared. Like he's already watched it.
And he says, I cannot believe Dice and Terry Hatcher falling in love, but it's weirdly adorable. That's a spoiler alert for next episode, guys. Apparently. So John, you and me, Cherry 2000 and Zardoz. And Zardoz, I feel tricked.
Yeah.
I feel tricked into Zardoz.
Why is that?
Because we got bullied into Zardoz by Pito Royo, and other people. Yeah. Because all anyone remembers about Zardoz is essentially a meme version. Like they see Sean Connery in the loincloth and bandolier and the mustache.
That's hard to ignore.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore. But like you see that and you go, what? Oh my God. And that looks ridiculous. And
but you know what was striking to me is I always saw that cover with him in the red diaper and whatever. And I always thought that was Burt Reynolds. I thought he looked like Burt Reynolds. It turns out Burt Reynolds was supposed to play that role.
Right,
it was last minute that Sean Connery got the role.
Is that why they give him the mustache?
I guess that like you need to grow like a mustache like Burt Reynolds, right? Yeah.
Like there's no way this movie works without this.
No.
But I was at dinner with my mom, and she asked me, what movie are you guys doing this week? And I just pulled out my phone and just showed her the bandolier loincloth picture.
Yeah. But that's the problem. That's the problem. Because you look at that picture and you go, oh, that's a Dangerous Podcast movie. And then we watch it, and it's a pretty decent 1970s avant-garde sci-fi film.
Right.
I mean, it has
as long as you look at it as avant-garde. Avant-garde is
yeah.
I know. I loosely I use the term avant-garde loosely. Surrealist. Can we say surrealist?
Yes.
I'm being loosey-goosey with that too.
Yeah.
But
no good word. Yeah.
I mean, Zardoz has its flaws in spades. It is overindulgent. It is. I mean, that's what it is. It's overindulgent. It is. It gets absorbed in itself, and it's not that it doesn't answer its questions. I'm with you, Jules. I don't need it to answer its questions. It's that it tries to answer its questions way too hard and can't deliver. I think that's my biggest problem with Zardoz. But the art direction behind it is fantastic. It has a nice mystery. It is a well-composed film. The memes tricked me. The memes it got backdoored into a Dangerous Podcast, and but I'm glad because I got to see it, and I probably never would have seen it before.
Right.
Albert says, as a counter to the critical theatrical smash, the Green Knight, consider paying homage to Connery's manly chest with Connery as the Green Knight in Sword of the Valiant. Oh, that's on the list.
What is that?
I've never heard of that one.
And I gotta say,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and I gotta say, that's what I enjoy most about this show is it makes me watch movies that I'm curious about, but would just never on my own give up the time to watch, Garbage Pail Kids.
Yeah. Like,
But
okay.
I'm going to use that more going forward. I'm going to do movies, and this is I'm going to do movies like I was just thinking the other day, The Human Centipede.
Really?
Wouldn't that be? Yes.
Oh, no.
That's selling out.
Yes. No,
I've had a morbid curiosity about that movie, but never actually brought myself.
But I am too. And I just think this show needs to force us into these things. We've got to watch this. I could make it worse. I could make it this Human Centipede Part 3.
No,
there's like 100 of them.
Yeah, no, I guess my problem with Human Centipede is like much the same way with like Manos the Hands of Fate. Like there's so much ink been spilled over Human Centipede already. Everybody's
You know what? We should be uncomfortable. I feel like if we're not uncomfortable, we're not doing our job.
Yeah, I know. I'm not uncomfortable watching Human Centipede. I mean, I will be while watching it, but like I know what it is.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a decent amount of it already.
Maybe it's better we dip into obscurity instead of one that people kind of know about like that.
Yeah, I'm just saying everybody knows everything about Human Centipede. There have been 1,000 think pieces written about it. I'm not saying I won't do it. I'm just, But
it's not that anybody doesn't know about rollerball or whatever. It's about our take on it. It's what a podcast is about. It's like, what do these four people have to say about the Human Centipede?
That's true. And with that,
the only thing I know about Human Centipede is the South Park episode, Human Centipede. Where when someone agrees to the long Apple terms of service, they unwittingly agree to be in Human Centipede.
That's what came to my mind too. Yes, that's all I remember too.
Plus, we're reviewing Dune, which is going to be like the biggest movie, ever for the next year.
The premise, like many shows going into season 2, it gets a little loosey-goosey with the premise of the show.
Oh man,
jumping the shark a little bit.
Yeah. So next question for you. We talked about the movie that we kind of low-key ended up liking. What's the movie that hurt you the most? And what's the scene of that movie that really kind of broke you?
I wish I could.
I don't know. I'm like Iron Guts McGinty with these movies. That's hard.
I wish I could remember because there were so many of them that where I was just like, I'm pausing and looking at how much time is left, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I've only watched 10 minutes of this. I think Nights in Newgate was one of them. That was just
I can answer it for Jules. It was probably 5 scenes in Saving Christmas.
Saving Christmas was even worse than I thought because
you're right. When you're being preached to by Kirk Cameron,
but I mean it wasn't even like coherent, and it was just like.
And Santa Claus was beating up a guy who was dissing Jesus.
That was the only good scene in the movie was Santa Claus beating a man.
That's my favorite action scene. No, right there.
That's probably. That was the high point of the movie.
Oh man!
He beat that guy to a pulp, and then he's like, "Let's go get some toys for the kids."
And he's telling this version of Santa Claus that never existed. He's like, Santa Claus is a real badass.
All he says was historical records say. Like what? That you pulled out of your fucking ass, you fucking weirdo.
God. Like I am glad. Like I don't regret that we watched Saving Christmas, and that was the first contentious thing we had. Like that was no. The first contentious one was the opposite. Was Rock and Roll High School. I don't
know what you mean by contentious, but there was one movie I picked, and this is when Ray was on the show, and she just like exited out and didn't show up that week. That was a Neil Breen movie.
Yeah, that was Twisted Pair.
That was the Twisted Pair, right?
Yeah.
Yep, that was when Ray rage quit.
She rage quit for the week. She's just not gonna.
We've had a lot of guest hosts on the show.
That Rock and Roll High School wasn't. I never saw that, but wasn't there some movie like that with Corey Feldman?
Yeah, there was. I think he was in Rock and Roll High School too.
Okay, something like that.
Right.
Really?
Like he was in this movie where he was in high school and there were these rock bands and it was part of the school curriculum.
Like we didn't watch Rock and Roll High School, but I'm down to watch Rock and Roll High School too. I can't imagine that's it.
I was speaking to Corey Feldman. I was flipping through TV and I because I got every cable channel still, and I'm flipping through and I see Lost Boys 2, and I'm like, oh, there was a sequel, and it was pure cheese. Like they tried to make a comedy out of it, and it was horrible cheese, and I was like, what the fuck?
Whoa. Albert is answering the question by saying Garbage Pail Kids only because it brought back that childhood pain of such an utterly fucking wasted opportunity with D-list character picks that made all the raunchy childhood wish fulfillment pointless. That very well said. Very well said. For me, it's got to be Neil Breen. It's got to, and I've got to say, listen, John, I understand why you like Neil Breen. Like this isn't a secret to me. I'm not looking like, what can you see? I understand liking train wrecks. I understand what the appeal of Neil Breen would.
Train wrecks are my favorite, right?
Yeah, but I just can't get behind Neil Breen, and there's been a lot of airtime in this show.
No, you're not alone.
A lot of airtime in this show dedicated to why, which is my secret fear that I am just Neil Breen, or that I am not as good as Neil Breen. Like that's my inner fear right there.
It's too close to home. No, I get it.
I think the moment that hurt me the most from Neil Breen, I mean, the biggest emotional reaction I ever had was during Roar, where like I really was just horrified. But the other thing, like the thing that hurt me the most, was exactly kind of what Jules was talking about, which was it was the beginning of watching A Twisted Pair, and there was this. I was watching it on the Hurt Locker, and I literally don't remember the name of the site you guys used.
Did you pay for that movie?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I did not.
At least you didn't give Neil Breen any money. Jeez.
But anyway, it was streaming in a way that I didn't have a time code counter on it. So I had no idea how long I'd been watching or how much longer the film would be. And it was like 5 minutes in and I realized that this was just going to go until it was going to end, and I had no barometer for this. And it was the only time that I seriously considered bailing, where I'm like, I just cannot do this. I just can't do it.
I think what upset me wasn't necessarily a scene in the movie, but when I was reading about Roar and how it like, not just that people were injured, but it like tore their whole family apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I got to imagine, by the way, that would have happened eventually just living in the Tiger Zoo. Living in the lion compound, movie or not. That like those lions were going to rip that family apart metaphorically and literally pretty soon, but that movie didn't help. And I think another thing, John, we've never had it out about this, but like Knights of Newgate is really painful for me.
Knights of Newgate, yeah, I totally forgot about that.
And it's painful for me on a number of reasons. One, because it's so fucking terrible. But like you and I have just a completely different Rorschach test while watching that movie, whereas you want them to fail, and I just see myself in them. I just see myself so much in Knights of Newgate. Like I've never lost my house. I've never mortgaged my house for a movie, but I have lost thousands of dollars on movies that I've never finished.
There's a huge difference from losing thousands of dollars.
I know that.
Losing your fucking house.
But like, I think where you and I just do not meet eye to eye is that I very much can empathize with the driving desire to create art, even if you're not good at it.
Me too, but that's not what is. They were not creating art. I'm saying I was not getting that impression that they were creating art, or that was their intention. Their intention was they wanted to be players in the movie. They wanted to brag they made a movie. That's my impression.
I don't think that. Well,
neither of us know. We don't know these people.
We don't know, and we're projecting right here. But my projection is that they thought it was an awesome movie. That they thought this completely hackneyed, terrible,
You would think that if after spending considerable time and processing power and money on the first CGI scene, you would think they would have saw their work on the first one.
Common sense,
like,
right?
No, we're not doing this.
Unless they're like an eccentric like Neil Breen. Neil Breen, he believes in these movies because he's like an eccentric. Or who's the guy from The Room?
Tommy
Wiseau. Like he has no realization of how oddball his movie comes across. He thinks he's making a great film. Unless the director of Knights of Newgate is like that, and I just don't see it, then no, he's not.
No, I can tell you exactly the way this works. All right, I could be wrong, but this is my vision of what this is. What you need to remember about Knights of Newgate, which for those of you who are listening who don't remember, was a British. It was British, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a British horror action film about super thieves fighting demons. All right, that's the movie. That there's a good amount of that movie that looks good. That is well shot. It is well lit. It has good locations, and you have actors that it looks like a real movie for brief periods of time. So they get the dailies back and they're watching these scenes and they're like, "Holy shit! Look at this. This looks fucking awesome. This looks great." And they're seeing their vision.
Wait, are we talking about the same movie? Because there were no sets in Knights of Newgate whatsoever.
No, there were.
I'm with him.
There were.
What?
I missed it.
Or was it like everything was green screened? Literally.
No, everything wasn't green screen, but they would come up at really odd times. A lot of it was green screen. Yeah, no, it was all green screened, I think. You're right. It was green screen, but sometimes the actors turned into animation.
Yes, that did
They're
happen.
walking down the stairs and they turn into an animated CGI.
But also, the actors in it aren't necessarily bad.
No, it was not the actor's fault. It was
so what you get is these scenes that you're kind of watching and they look kind of good, and you get excited, and then you start looking at your animation, and then you start becoming apologists for your own animation. They're like, yeah, this is what happened. They're watching their terrible gargoyles and their demons and they're fighting their everything. They're like, yeah, it looks bad, but it looks kind of like old Doctor Who. Everybody likes old Doctor Who, right?
You know what the difference between you're right. It looked like old Doctor Who. You know what the difference between this, and this is the point I wanted to make, is it's not well written.
No, it is terrible.
And that's where Doctor Who can shine with being low budget and cheesy looking, is it's well written. And that what gives me the impression that they're just not people who are in it for the love of art as much as they are people who want to make a movie.
Yeah.
And
I still end this fight with the statement that I don't think vanity was the thing that was driving this. I think they were really excited about this. They were really excited. They thought it was a good movie. They thought it was badass. And they spent so much money on it that you get yourself into that loop of, do you keep throwing money at this thing? And if you don't keep throwing money at this thing, then what did you just waste all your money on? And that's what I think was the experience of Knights of Newgate. And I don't wish that movie was made, but I can sympathize. I've thrown a lot of bad money at bad projects.
But the way that I avoided really being hurt by Knights of Newgate was that, like, I have such bad ADD, I could barely pay attention to all this stuff that was going on all at once, and things kept changing every 2 minutes, and I just couldn't even keep up.
Yeah, Albert had a really good comment, which is this is his quote from them. I'm assuming this is imaginary. This is just the first render, right? More layers. Sweet, we go on. Yeah, you always think it's going to look better and stuff. Like, yeah. And that's the thing. Like, let's not avoid the elephant in the room. We're all making a movie. We're making our own action movie. And Jules and I have sat there looking at these car chases that we're rendering and being like, does that look good? Yeah, that looks good. Now, I think it actually does look good. That's like, oh my God, are we just Knights of Newgate? That's always are we just Neil Breen or Knights of Newgate? That's always my terror. I will say I believe our movie is well written. I can, but so did they. That's the problem.
Not everybody has like no judgment. Yeah, that's true. Not everybody gets wrapped up in it. So let's just hope.
Yeah. Again, Neil Breen makes money from what I hear.
Yeah. Like as much as I
look it up, is his net worth like $1 or $2 million?
I don't know.
He's making money off the movies now, as best I can tell. So that's what we're going to get into.
But again, he's got a cult following because he's who he is. Because of audience out there like me who love to watch the train wreck.
Albert just says there was a whole school of thought going on for a while with green screen movies and TV and the environmental benefits. Rodriguez did it with Sin City. There was a web series called Sanctuary that was picked up and aired on Sci-Fi Channel, now Sci-Fi, that was totally green screen. Knights of Newgate was just an example of how easily that can fail. That's absolutely true.
So did you hear about that other new big project that's coming out that's all green screen?
What's that?
It's called Blood Tide Legal Water.
Blood Tide.
Getting a big buzz, yeah.
You're convincing me more and more every day, John. Oh, no, Jules, you were the one who said Neil Breen is who should have assuaged us of that notion.
Like, Neil Breen will dissuade you from, like, breathing air. I mean, you can't, like, it's not everything he does is bad, you know?
Yeah, Neil Breen breathes really gross. His breathing is pretty gross.
Everything about him is gross. But, I mean, if Neil Breen drives a car, it doesn't mean you should never drive a car.
Yeah.
You know, if he used green screen, it doesn't mean green screen is just bad. Yeah. Especially in a comedy.
I don't know, man. Neil Breen is pretty tainted green screen. But we're getting towards the end of the episode, this very special episode. And on a personal note, like, I got to say just how great it has been doing this show with you guys. Whether anybody else in the world, all of our fans in Japan and Canada, and our one super fan over in South Sudan, you know who I'm talking to right now. It's just been a blast.
It is, you know what? And I don't care how many people we got. We got fucking Albert, man.
Yeah.
Fucking Albert, dude. I would trade 1,000 fucking people watching the show for one Albert.
Albert's worth 1,000 right there.
Albert's worth 1,000.
So
we need Albert to go to Sudan to get people riled up.
We've got somebody there. Don't worry. We've got our man. I'm of course speaking about Doug Hansen, UN lawyer doing God's work over in South Sudan.
Isn't he the guy who did To Catch a Predator?
No.
Oh, that's Chris Hansen.
I played the Predator in Catch a Predator. I did. That's my only on. Yes, this is a weird television fact for Ian Alley Seals. So I used to be a associate producer for WFSB Channel 3, which is a CBS affiliate. And at one point, like when I was still just a writer there, a producer came up to me and said, "Hey, Ian, are you currently instant messaging, chatting with people?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "We all know you just spend the whole day chatting with people while you're supposed to be working." And I'm like, "Yes." They're like, "Okay, can you open up a bunch of chat windows? We need to do a piece about cyber predators. And can we use your friends?" And I'm like,
Oh,
yes.
no way.
No, for real. And so like I had to ask my friends if we could do that, and like so they put their chat windows up, and it was my fingers typing in slow motion on the keyboard. Like,
Is this
I
on
wish
YouTube?
I had that.
I gotta find this.
God, yeah, like that's got to go on my sizzle reel right there, man. Like I played Internet Predator in a news segment for CBS. Yeah.
That is awesome. Was it for CBS or was it Chris Hansen? Was it To Catch a Predator?
No. It was just for normal CBS.
Oh, okay.
Normal CBS. Yeah, that's my claim to fame right there. So this is season 2. We are on. We're going to be recording every week. We will of course announce a hiatus at the end of this season, and we will let you all know well in advance. Unlike we did now, we gotta make this up to Jason. We left him high and dry with Brain Smashers. So Brain Smashers is coming up next week. Albert is already primed. He already watched it. He's ready to go. So let's do it. And we've got Dune coming up. Hey, John, can you say the actual date? What is the date that we're doing Dune?
I would check. I assume we're going opening night.
Opening night, yep.
So that will be October 22nd.
October 22nd, everybody tune in. The podcast will be live streamed and dropped that night. Right, everybody? That we're going hardcore
that
with
night.
this. We'll be out there that night. So gear up, get your tickets, get ready to comment. Dune is coming up. We're going to be talking about them worms all day, all night. Well, gentlemen,
Talk about them worms.
I think this is a good place to end our very special episode and the inaugural episode of season 2 of A Dangerous Podcast. As always, it has been a pleasure.
Yep, I'll see you guys for the premiere of season 2, Brain Smasher.
Brain Smasher's coming up, everybody. Coming up. John, Jules, Jason, thank you so much. Have
Good
a
night,
great night,
everyone.
everybody. Thanks
Night.
for listening. Thanks for watching. How do I get out of this place?